Hi guys, welcome to the Jake and Ollie podcast. Just to warn you, this podcast does contain adult themes and strong language, and headphone users, please be aware of my laugh. Enjoy it!
Cheers.
Hi guys, and welcome to episode 9 of the Jake and Ollie podcast. So today we've got a great little pod lined up for you. Firstly, you might be wondering why me and Ollie are in Arsenal and West Ham tops. It is game day, kicks off in 2.5 hours.
Sure is.
Very excited. And Ollie's family's even treating me to a little roast. So I'm absolutely buzzing about that.
What a day.
And just before we do hack on, Ollie has a bit of exciting news. If you've been following the pod, I'll let you spill the beans.
I do. So in my careers episode, you would have noticed that if you listened to all of it, you'd know that I had a job interview coming up that week of recording that podcast, and smashed it. Got the job.
Got the
promotion. Got the work from home life secured. Got the pay rise.
Absolutely buzzing. Congratulations, mate. Absolutely buzzing for you. Cool. Now, before we go on to our little starter question. It's not a question today. We've got something a little bit different. If you are, remember, gamble responsibly. But if you do like a little gamble, I had a dream last night, and I had a dream
tips
about
now.
Get the tips out now. If this comes in, honestly, I'm going viral. On the 12th of May, Arsenal play Tottenham Hotspur, North London derby. My dream was Arsenal went 1-0 up. Spurs came back 2-1. Lacazette missed a penalty late on in the game to equalise, which he missed. Spurs then went 3-1 up, but the goal was disallowed. And then late on, 93rd minute, Lacazette shoots, is saved, comes back, he recollects the ball, lays it off to Tavares, and Tavares scores. So, if you do want to win some money, I would put that down, because you kick yourself if you don't. But no, honestly, gamble responsibly. But I just thought I'd tell you that in case.
You would. Are you putting that on?
I don't know. I think I might put 2-2 on. Just
it's so specific. Is there even a betting line to put that on? Because if there was, it would be like 5 million to 1. Yeah, you got to put your money where your mouth is now. Though 100%. After putting that out and going, you need to bet on it.
Maybe I'll take the savings out.
Put 50p. Put 50p on it.
To be fair, I probably could put like £1 on it because the odds would be ridiculous.
We'll put however much you want on it. We'll screenshot it, put it on story.
Yeah. We'll do.
And then a bit of proof. And then if it comes in, and that is insane.
That is a joke. But this airs next week, and then you've got 4 days to decide whether you want to put it on. I think it's 4 days. I think we play on the Thursday. Cool. Right, okay. So the starter for today is 2 truths, 1 lie. Now, if you don't know what that is, basically, we've both got 3 stories. 2 of them are true. 1 of them's a lie.
I'm so excited.
I actually had different ones, but I left the sheet of paper at home, which I'm absolutely furious about. But it's okay. I've got some new ones. And yeah, we're just going to crack on with that, and that'll be our little warm-up. So, Ollie, off you go. 2 truths and a lie.
All right, so first one, number 1.
Up we go.
You can ask after. You can ask a few questions. You can do a little investigation if you want.
Sort of
Yeah,
well. Cool.
but not too in depth. Like you can, because I might have fumbled the bag here. You can have a little bit of an investigation. Cool. All right, so first one. I was playing golf.
Right.
I'm not a great golfer, to be honest. So yeah, already believable. I was basically threw a tantrum one time. I was just playing rubbish. I can't remember the specifics of it, to be honest. I think I was putting.
Right.
But I picked up a golf ball and just lobbed it. Just absolutely, I was furious. Lobbed it, and I shit you not, it's hit a pole that is about this big, like literally a tiny little pole. I was quite young at the time, so the details are a little bit vague. But I've lobbed it. It's hit this pole, came back, and just hit me straight in between the eyes, and just smacked me. And my parents were just like, "That's what you get.
That's what you get for losing your rag.
You deserve it. You deserve it."
Calm as a bitch.
So number 2, it was the second night of university. I'd gone out. The first night I'd got there with my parents. We had like dinner and that sort of thing. Chilled out. The second day we had a look around the uni, and then the second night I went back to my accommodation for the first time.
Right.
Slept in the halls for the first time. No one else was there at this point, so I was sitting alone in my bed, and the WhatsApp group for all the new physio students. Everyone had kind of like found it, Facebook stalked each other before, added each other to a WhatsApp group, and then some people were like, "Oh, we're going out to the student union nightclub. Does anyone want to come?" I was like, "I'm just laying here. I might as well."
Absolutely.
You know, it was quite a brave thing to do. Actually, it's
Brave
quite
boy.
spontaneous. I just left, didn't know anyone. I was like, "Yeah, meet me here. Like, let's go out." Done it. Stayed for a few hours and then ended up going home. I drunk quite a lot, so I really needed to go to the toilet. I'd already broken the seal at this point. And the annoying thing was my student accommodation at that time, the lift was broken.
Right.
So, and I lived on the 8th floor, and there was 16 flights of stairs to go up to get to the 8th floor.
Oh my God.
And I walked into the student accommodation, and I really needed to go.
Oh no.
Like, really.
I've got to say though,
really
like, when
badly.
you need to, like, when you're actually busting for a piss, that is the worst feeling in the world.
And I saw the lift was broken, and I was like, just went into panic mode. It was fight or flight time, and I was fighting. I just took off up the stairs as fast as I could. Like, I was sweating. It was such a long way up. Got to the top, got to my door, went to get my key out, and I was just like, "Oh no, it's coming." I was like, you know when you really need to go to the toilet, and then before you almost get to where the toilet,
Your body tells you can go, and it just starts coming. And
You
like,
you
"I've
really
got
have
3
to like hold it
seconds."
in, and because I was like a little bit drunk, and it was the most I ever needed the toilet, and I just ran up all those stairs. And I literally swabbed my key on the door, and it was too late. I just started pissing, and I got into my flat. Obviously went to the toilet,
Right.
but I'd already had a bit of an
Could have
accident.
done it.
And I literally chucked my jeans in the wash. I went downstairs, chucked them in the washing machine. No one's around.
Right.
No one's in my flat, and I literally got back to my flat, laid in bed on my second night of university after just pissing myself. Laid in bed on my own in this flat in Bournemouth, just thinking, how the fuck am I gonna? How the fuck am I going to get through 3 years of this? I was like, I've been here 2 nights and had a bit of an accident.
That is not ideal.
And the third one, when I was little, I had an encounter with a ghost.
Yeah.
And it's still like quite a vivid memory to this day. Like, so it was when I was quite little, and I used to have like the room I had now. It's quite a small room, and there used to be this like chest of drawers in the corner of the room.
Right.
And every time I tried to go to sleep when I was little, there was this little Victorian school child, this little boy, just sitting on top of the chest of drawers, and I couldn't sleep because he's just sitting there in like Victorian schoolboy uniform with one of those like little like cardboard, almost like school bag, like little school bags. Something he looked like he would dress up to go to a Victorian day at primary school sort of outfit, like socks pulled up, and it was just so scary. And at that time, I was also scared of Doctor Who and the Empty Child, and he's like a Victorian schoolboy with a gas mask, and it just freaked me the hell out. And it wasn't there, but I just couldn't not see it.
Right.
Until one day when my mum came in my room and was started speaking to the ghost, and so I was like, "Mum, he's still there. He just won't leave me alone. I can't sleep." And my mum literally turned around to the corner where it was, and in my mind at this time, she's speaking to this child, and she went, "You can leave now. Like, he's not scared of you anymore. Like, you can go back. You can go."
Mum's an exorcist.
Like some Insidious type stuff.
What the fuck?
And I shit you not, the kid leapt off the chest of drawers, ran down the stairs out the house, never saw it again. Never saw it again.
Oh my God.
How scary is that?
If
That is
this is
literally like
true-
a film in real life.
If this is true, I'm going to ask your mum that when we have our roasts.
Yeah, she'll know. She'll know.
I think I know what one's a lie. I don't even need to ask a question.
Okay.
The first one's a lie. The golf ball.
Why do you think the first one's a lie?
Because we'll get onto this in a bit actually, but I was having a conversation about the other day about like ghosts and what kids can and can't see and stuff, and I had something like that when I was a kid, and I used to go to the park and I saw like this little girl in the window, and I was like, Mum, there's someone in the window, and she was like, there's no one in the window, and I used to see that. And then there was another one. It was the first Christmas after my great nana died, and it was like my after my first birthday, so we were all, I think we must have been down my nan's. That's what Mum said anyway. And Mum goes to me, here, I'll go give this present to your nan. And I walked past my nan into the hallway and just held it up to the sky. Like, that's a bit weird. Because obviously my nan was dead, so I thought, gosh, that must be up there. But yeah, so I think that one's real.
The ghost one's
yeah,
real.
I think the ghost one's real. I do think that is definitely something you do piss yourself. So, and the accuracy you must have had as a kid to launch a golf ball at a little pole and it rebounds like a pole circular as well. So you must have had to have hit that such bang on for it to come straight back at you. I think the golf ball's a lie.
The second one's the lie.
No. Oh, mate.
The golf ball one is true. It was crazy golf when I was a little kid.
Crazy golf. I thought you were
so
walking around a par 3.
Nah, so there's shit like that everywhere, and there's just like this little pole.
I see.
And I was literally like a small kid, and I used to have the worst temper, man. I used to like throw my toys out the pram and literally everything. I'd like miss the hole, and I'd be like, that's it.
That's it, I've had enough.
Lob it, and yeah, it literally came back. I had 2 black eyes, just smacked me in between the nose.
Was that the one down the seafront?
I think so.
I went to that
I
one
can't
once.
remember that clearly, but I do remember the golf ball coming back and smacking me in the face, and I was just stunned. Like,
I was down there once, and I used to like. I'm always a bit competitive. I remember getting this golf club, swinging it back, thinking I was Tiger Woods, and then suddenly my sister's behind me. I give her a black eye with a club.
I can see that happening.
Honestly, I just remember. Oh,
I think that's
my
happened to me almost a couple of times. From honesty,
God. Do you remember that bunker story of mine? When we used to play golf, and I knocked myself out in the bunker.
I was there.
That's what I mean. Do
I
you
got
remember?
pictures of it on my BlackBerry curve.
That was so funny. For those of you listening, we went round the par 3, and there was this bunker, and I was in the bunker. I've absolutely thinned this ball. It's hit the top of the bunker, the lip of it. It's come flying back at me, hit me in the temple, and I was that cold. It was so cold as well. It was like December. I absolutely freezing my tits off. But
We weren't the most compassionate.
No, we
either.
weren't.
We were literally just.
and I think
so
it was.
funny.
I think it was you as well. We were on the 7th, and you were the other side of the green, and I was waiting. And you've gone to chip onto the green, but you thinned it, and it's come flying at my bollocks. And I've literally had to dive back out.
Yeah, I do vaguely remember that actually.
That was so weird. Right, okay. My mine are all sort of like career related. Mm-hmm. My first one, when I was in Matilda, I hope some of these I haven't actually told you the story before, because otherwise it's going to kind of defeat the object. So when I was in Matilda, there was another lad who was playing Bruce who had celiac disease, so like he couldn't eat gluten or wheat or anything like that. And one night I got a call saying, Jake, you got to come in because he's gone off ill. So Mum's rushed me up to the theatre. But they like preset the show and all the like cakes and all that sort of stuff before. And obviously, as Bruce, we got to eat cake. So then, the night I went on, I'm sat there and I was like, this cake looks different. Honestly, it looked like the driest piece of shit anyone would ever want it. Like, I was like, this is going to absolutely write me off. Anyway, so I've started eating it, and I was like, this is rough. And obviously, Mum had just just got a late ticket for it, because she was like, I've got nothing to do and I've just had to drop you off, so I'll just come watch the show. I think my mum must have seen that show at least 300,000 times. So yeah, anyway, I start eating it. I'm like gagging on stage, like full on, like honestly, I just thought I was going to blow chunks. So anyway, I've got through it, got to the end of the scene, and my mum's come back. She's called the chaperone in the interval, like, is Jake all right? He was like throwing up on stage. And I'm like, yeah, they
on stage.
No, like I didn't actually chunder on stage, but I was gagging. Like I was like full audience. Like, I'm just reaching. Like, so then, and they were like, yeah, they've given him the wrong cake. They gave me the kid who was supposed to be on. They gave me his cake. It wasn't my cake. So, yeah,
the cake was
the celiac one. It was the gluten-free one, which was rough. So any of you out there that are celiac, I feel sorry for you. But in the last 10 years, it's probably developed, and you've probably got some nice food out there. So that's story number 1. Story number 2. I did Jack and the Beanstalk at Christmas, and I was puppeteer for the giant. And basically, I was on like these massive stilts, like 3-foot stilts. The giant was 3 meters high, and within like 10 days, I had to learn how to walk on stilts, and all that sort of stuff. So then I'd be in these stilts and be up, and then there was this big like body that came on top of me, which I think it weighed something stupid, like 60 kg. So I've got that on me, strapped in a harness, helmet on, like inside this massive giant, and it was, the stilts had like a ski boot on it, so it would just get tightened like a little circular thing. Mm-hmm. So anyway, that's been tightened up and stuff. Anyway, I'm walking on stage like into the wings, because you had to have it flown in on you, so someone with a rope had to like fly it in on top of you. So I got it in, started to preset to go on for the final scene, and my sound effect came on for me to walk on. I start walking on, get to the well, I turn it around to face the audience, took a step, and the thing popped off. So my left shin went forward, and by then the weight's taking it, and you ain't fighting 60 kilograms on top of your 3-foot stilts. And all of a sudden, with a live audience, this whole 3 meter giant's just gone straight onto the floor. And then they like pulled the curtains and had to carry on. They thought I was dead. I was a bit in shock at the time, but I was so fine. Like, it didn't hurt or anything because there was loads of padding. And I just sat there giggling to myself, but I was in such shock. And they were like, "You alright? You alright?" And I was like, "No, yeah, I'm fine. So anyway, they then got me out, and then I just went on for the finale. And then third story was I was filming once, and we'd been sat round all day. You know when you hit like delirium? Yeah, so I like hit delirium. I was really hyper. And when I get hyper, I'm a bit of a lunatic. Like, I'm just a bit all over the gaff. So anyway, like on a film set and stuff, you have so many like wires and cables and stuff, because obviously if you're outside shooting, they've got to plug the cameras in, the lights in, like bits of the set, etc., etc., etc. And yeah, I had a friend on set, and we were like just playing games, running around and stuff. And all of a sudden, like they were like, "Right, come on, we're going to shoot." So we ran over to shoot, and I tripped over a cable. And like when you set up like a film set sort of thing, like it takes a while, like to set up the cameras and stuff. Like it takes a decent amount of time. So then we ran over, and I tripped over a wire. And as this wire's gone, it's pulled the camera, and this camera's just started toppling. And I thought, "Oh shit!" And this camera's just hit the floor. Luckily, it was like high budget, and they had more than one camera. But yeah, like they had to actually take the camera away. It was so peak, and like I was a kid at the time, so I was like, I think I got away with it. But if I was an adult, I think I'd have probably been sacked. It was quite mad. But yeah, they're my 3 stories.
How old were you in that when you knocked over the camera?
12.
What happened to you? Like, what did they say after you knocked it over?
Well, obviously they had to then reset because they had all these wires and stuff. And I was like, oh my God. So we went back to the trailer, and Mum was my chaperone at the time, and she was like, "I cannot believe what you've just done." Like, it was like, she was furious with me, and I was like, "This is not ideal." And it's always me. Like, if anything happens, it's always me. If something bad goes wrong, it's probably my fault. So I've just done something stupid.
Where was it?
When on set.
Where were you filming?
It was in a studios. Long Cross, do you know that? Yeah, it was in Long Cross, which is in Surrey.
Right.
Which was cool. It was a cool studio because you have to go like round a racetrack to get there.
That's difficult. I know the second one is definitely true.
I knew I told you that
because you said it on the podcast.
I thought I had as well, and the viewers are going to be like, "He's an idiot." I forget what I've said.
The first one, the cake was swapped. It's believable, but so in that scenario, then was the person that was gluten intolerant. He was like first in line for Bruce. Is that right?
No, it was his night. So you don't do every show as a kid. You're not allowed to for licensing reasons.
Right. Yeah.
So you do like 2 or 3 shows a week.
They gave you the wrong cake.
And it was his night, and then it was literally like 5:30, and they were like, "James, he's not coming in." So
it's believable. I think that could happen, but I'm shocked that I hadn't already heard that.
Right.
And the fact that you've it's believable that you might have just made something up and just say, "Oh, I tripped and fell over a camera."
Right.
Seems like an easy thing to lie about.
Okay.
I'm going to say this is really hard. I'm going to say I think they're all true, but you
that's not part of the game, mate.
I think they've probably all kind of happened, but you've just lied somewhere
Alright,
about
told a
them.
little white
Do you
lie,
see what I
okay.
mean?
Yeah, I see what you mean.
I reckon the third one's a lie.
The third one is the lie. Nothing like that ever happened. I genuinely think I've never been able to step foot on set again.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking, in fact, I was like, you were like, oh, because I'm a kid, they didn't really let me get away with it. But then I was like, I could see that being absolutely mortifying.
Yeah, it was. Well, I mean,
Wait, what? Are you sure it's a lie?
No, but like, I was trying to live it as I was telling it. Mm-hmm. But that's why I'm annoyed that I didn't bring my other ones, because my other ones were good, and you've caught me out. But anyway, okay. So today's episode is conspiracy theories. I hope you enjoyed that, because I actually really enjoyed that. That was quite fun. So
it's a good game to play.
That is a good game, actually. We're going to do conspiracy theories, which I am a sucker for. I absolutely love a conspiracy theory. I love all things to do with that. So we've both got some that are researched and have been done, that people believe and what they don't believe. And I've actually got one of my own that I made up and I literally live by. So do you want to just do like one each and go back and forth?
You go first with your
go
first
with
one.
Do you want to go with my one that I made up?
Yeah, because
Okay.
I think that's the best one.
Okay, cool. So my one that I made up is about life after death. Now, a lot of people have like their own different like thoughts about what happens to you when you die and stuff like this. But I am so sold on the fact that the only thing that goes of you is your physical being.
Okay.
Okay, so
you
like
physically die.
yeah,
and
you,
that
like
rots
your body,
away.
your body just is like your heart gives up on you and stuff, or whatever happens to you, and then your body can't like continue anymore. But
Yep.
the spirit of you continues.
Yeah.
And you know how like people will be like, "Oh my god, you're so much like your great granddad." Yeah. Like people will say things like that, like, "Oh, you're so much like so and so." I think that your family has a set of spirits that just go round and round and round and round. So, for example, so my nan was the last person to die in my family. So whoever's the next person born in my family will take her spirit. So then it will probably be a case of one day someone will go to her, or well the kids, "You're so much like your dad or whoever has the kid." Say I have the kid, then so much like your dad's nan. And I literally live by it, and I just think it makes a lot of sense. If you can get your head around it, it makes a lot of sense, because also there's so many weird... That's going to be right in the mic. There's so many weird things that happen regarding... Come on, chop. There's so many weird things that happen with like...
Sounds like you're going for a piss.
Well, I wasn't going for a piss, just pouring a drink. Just to clarify for non-video users. But I just think like it makes so much sense, because it just doesn't, like, even for me, like my family are into the arts and stuff, but it was my nan's nan, who I never met, that did it professionally, and I'm like, has that spirit...
Did what professionally?
Performing.
Right.
And I was like, has that just scooped back round?
Hard, isn't it? Because
It
you
is.
can't prove that it didn't,
No,
or
of
it
course
didn't.
you can't prove it.
So,
But then also you get like little flashbacks, like little deja vus, things that haven't happened to you in this life. So is that something that's flipped?
Fucking deja
Do you know what I
vu is a
mean?
weird
It's
thing.
fucked, mate. It actually blows my brains.
I wouldn't say I've had it. I have deja vu when it's something that I've done. I wouldn't say that I've randomly ever had
Oh, I have.
like deja vu from like a previous
Really?
life. That's
Deja vu fucks with me, but I'm like, there's definitely times. I remember once I was on my drive, and I was like, well, obviously I've been on my drive before. I do it every fucking day.
I've never been here before. Can you imagine? You'd have deja vu every like living second. It would be horrible.
But like, I remember looking somewhere, and I was like, that like it didn't feel like it was from that lifetime.
I can't believe that. I went on Spot Drive.
That's my
And I had the weirdest feeling that I had been here before.
But yeah, so that's that, and
I mean, what do you think like actually happens when you die?
that.
As in, what will you physically like experience after?
Mate, I've been dead.
You've
We
died.
spoke about this on the other pods, like on the birthday pods, when I got choked out and died.
Oh yeah, you
I
moved.
see the white light.
You didn't move towards the light.
didn't.
That's actually fucking crazy, by the way. The fact that you can actually sit here and go. That is mental. I almost want to, like, do you know what I mean? It's a fucked concept.
No, I hear that because when people used to talk about, we had a teacher at school that was like, I've been dead before, and like we used to ask her questions about it, and there was a weird little part of me that was like, I wonder what it's like.
Yeah.
And now I'm actually just gonna go with it. Yeah, I've been dead.
I don't want it to happen. Like, obviously, I don't want that to happen until like I'm old.
Yeah, 100%.
But I'm interested. I think, but then the worst thing about it is that you'd experience what happens and then never be able to tell anyone. That's the most interesting thing about
obviously
it.
if you don't come back to life, yeah.
Is that. Yeah, but then like, no one can ever prove it. Like, you know, when people have like these near-death experiences, like on an operating table and something like that, where they like die during an operation, and then they get resuscitated and they come back, sort of thing. And they said when they died, they could sort of see themselves from like a bird eye vision, like they were leaving their body, and they could see like everything. I think like our brains are that complicated and that intelligent. And we are that intelligent as humans that we could imagine that.
Yeah.
Like we could, like right now, I can imagine what this room looks like in a bird's eye picture in my head.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
If I was a fly on the wall, I could imagine.
It's not unbelievable that when you die, your brain.
That's your spirit, mate. That's your spirit leaving your body, going to the next body,
saying.
and it's
That's
going.
What they were saying.
Right, cheerio. See you later.
Do you think that when you die, you come back as another person, or do you think you come back as yourself? And you just relive.
No, with different
the
traits.
Same
with different traits.
Concept.
You you have like similar traits because like, well, obviously I'm not the same exact person. Like no one is the exact same person, but like because you don't keep the same brain, you don't keep the same height, you don't keep all of that sort of stuff. So your physical being, which straight away has an impact on you, but the spirit of you and what your interests and stuff like that are.
You think like, it's just so when I die, I'll come back as still Ollie. As a whole person of who Ollie is, but just in a different body. Yeah, like, so there'll be someone who acts like me and thinks like me, but they look completely different. Is that what you think?
But like they may have different traits about them. I'm not saying that everything is a spitting image of you, like in that sort of way. Like your personality might be slightly different, like whether that be how you deal with things, like your anger levels or whatever stuff like that. But I think it definitely carries traits.
I think when you die. I think it just carries on. Like, as soon as... So I think how many people were born a day and how many people die a day? There's loads. Yeah. I think as soon as one person dies, I think there's some sort of experience. Something must happen. Because your brain lives on longer.
Yeah, it does.
When your heart stops...
Your brain keeps going.
And you then like have a cardiac arrest and you die. But your brain will keep on going. And I think in that space in between where your heart stops and your brain's still alive, I think there's some sort of experience there that you'll feel or you'll see, and it will be that kind of moving
like,
towards the light.
Can you still see?
Because
like chickens and stuff, if they get their heads cut off, they can still see. Like there's that thing that if
because their brain's still working, I suppose.
That's so mad. Can you imagine seeing your
for a short period of
legs
time
running about? That's a bit crazy.
Until all of the blood's gone and that brain then just completely dies. Which is what I think happens, like when you'll have some sort of like, and that's why I think people have near-death experiences because they get so close to that point of dying, where it is just the brain functioning, and then when it's just the brain functioning, you have that sort of experience. But when you go, I think you just come back straight away as a baby, straight. So as soon as someone's born, bang, that's it. I'm going again, and I just live life again.
How though? How would you transport that?
But it's completely different. There's nothing to do with me, so it'll be nothing like me because everyone will just be born. Everyone's just born as their unique set of genes, their unique set of genetics from their parents, and everything they gain personality-wise will come from their experiences and sort of growing up. So I think as soon as I go, I'm straight out straight out someone else.
I'm not sure about
and
that.
I just go again, and I think we just sort of reborn and
because
reborn.
Because also there's 9 months of you that becoming a thing which still blows my brains. Like, I was actually talking about that the other day as well. Like, how does a sperm and an egg make like us, like with feelings, memories, like actual everything? Like, how does a sperm and an egg make that? Like, that blows my mind. For 9 months, suddenly you just like become this, like, and then you carry on growing for 18. Like, it actually blows my brains. But
and someone carries it.
Do you know what I mean?
In their stomach.
Oh my god!
But even like animals and shit do that as well.
Yeah, it's mad. Right. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not sold on that one because I don't understand how you would just become something else. Like, you die and then suddenly you're out.
Or maybe you die and then you just kind of live on as like a spirit. Yeah. But then I don't really want that to be true because I don't want that to happen. Like, I don't just want to be a moany myrtle floating around, like just existing.
But
that'd be really depressing.
There's all these things about ghosts and stuff, though, aren't there? So maybe.
I have a friend who, when he thinks about like dying, he like shivers.
Really?
Well, you know him as well. Like, he says sometimes when he'll lay there and think about like dying, and he'll just like his whole body will like shiver. I can't say that.
There's that thing about when someone like walks over your grave, though, isn't it? And you shiver. Like, when you shiver, apparently that's someone like walking over your grave from like a past life. Never heard that expression?
Yeah, I have heard that.
Someone's just walked over my grave. Like, if I was to go like that now, someone's just walked over my grave.
Well, there you go. So if someone had walked over your grave from a past life, does that mean you were just living the same life over and over?
No, that's your spirit, mate. I promise you. Because you're still intact with that body, because you were in that body. The spirit was in the body.
But your spirit is now in another person.
Yeah. So, like, for example, let's say, for example, my spirit last came from my great great nan. If someone was to walk over her grave, I'm shivering. You know?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I don't know, because it's like that. Has someone just made that up, or has that got something like some element of truth?
Who knows? But I don't think anyone will ever know, because no one remembers things from past lives or anything like that.
That I find that so infuriating that like you will just never ever know.
It's so jarring, but that's that.
Fuck knows.
Go on then, your one.
Not me. I don't know.
Not me.
Right, I've got quite a popular one.
Go on then.
Flat Earth theory.
Flat Earth theory.
Now,
here we go.
This is something that...
Strap in, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't want to say I get it, but I think it's an easy one to just be ignorant and just ignore facts and just
I'm gonna
start
be honest
believing
with you. I don't
something.
know much about it. Like, I feel like it's just...
Well,
do people
lucky you.
Do people just think that, like, because we walk down a straight road, like, the world's flat?
No, so they do use that sort of as an example. So basically, they think the Earth's flat because it feels like it's flat and looks like it's flat, essentially. And they think any evidence that is taken from outer space that proves it has a curvature is fabricated by the government and it's completely fake. They think they're hiding it, essentially. So they think the Earth's like completely disc-shaped, and the Arctic, that's in the middle, right? So if you had the Earth and you like the circle of the Earth as we think about it now, and it was like a paper mache, and you unfolded it into what it would be if it was flat, that's what they think it looks like. So if you unfolded the Earth, you'd have like the Arctic in the middle and the Antarctic around it.
Right.
Basically, ages ago, there was these explorers that went to the Antarctic and they explored it a little bit, and then they came up with something called the Antarctic Treaty. And the Antarctic Treaty essentially means no one's allowed to live there or go there. It's basically forbidden.
Right.
So no one lives there. It's just, I don't know, penguins and things like that.
Okay.
But it's guarded by the government.
Okay.
And they think the Antarctic's guarded by the government because people will be able to go there and like find the truth that the Earth is actually flat.
Right.
So they think the government are round Earth theorists and they want people to believe it's round. So that's why they guard the edge of the Antarctic, because people will realise it's actually flat and you can actually fall off the edge, which is obviously not true. But that's what they think. And if you look at the logo of the UN, I explain this like I actually think it's true. But if you look at the logo of the UN, it is an image of what the Earth would look like if it was actually flat.
Really?
And the UN are the people that made the Antarctic Treaty. So they think it's like they're kind of behind it, and they're hiding the fact from us. They want us to think it's round because actually you might fall off the edge of it. So they come up with a few examples, like, say for example, if you're standing in front of the sun's on the horizon, you've got a lake in front of you. The reflection of the sun will hit the lake and then come in a straight line towards you. And they say, well, if the Earth is actually flat and the sun is that far away on the horizon, how can it project a straight line across the lake? Because if the Earth had some sort of curvature to it, it wouldn't be able to reflect in a straight line.
Do we live in the Truman Show?
Is that where there's a globe around?
No, it's a Jim
It's
Carrey
TV.
film.
They say simulation, isn't it? Fucking jeez, we're bringing up all do you say? Do we live in a simulation?
You know what, it's mad because we were actually talking about this the other day, and I was like, the world doesn't actually make a lot of sense. Like, if you actually think about it, like, my thing is, when I start getting deep into like space and shit, I think that's so cool. But
I think it's
like,
so cool.
So you've got your solar system, which we're in, and let's like say that that's all sweet, and then you've got light years and light years and light years away, all these other different planets and stuff. But there's got to be a point where that stops. So let's take, for example, like, this is how I look at it. That box, that we have of all these solar systems.
Like the Milky Way.
Yeah, like the Milky Way is a box. But then,
I think that's what it is.
But then how can, like, what's beyond that? Because it's got to be infinite, but something's got to stop somewhere, but there's got to be something else beyond that.
Well, if it's infinite, it just carry on.
But how is that possible? Because it has to stop somewhere. You can't just tell me that it goes on for years and years and years. Like, that, no, I don't.
The thing is, though...
But then what's beyond that?
Why couldn't it? Why couldn't it just go on?
But when, like...
Or maybe it's so big, you would just never find the end of it.
But that's what it probably is, because, like, people say, like, light years away and stuff.
But I think it's easier to believe
maybe we'll
that
never know the truth.
It's infinite than we just live in some box. Because then, what's outside this box?
That's what I mean.
Is it just, like... Just do you know what I mean?
Me, like, really does.
I think it has to be... I think it just has to go on.
Do you think there's like a parallel
I think it's
universe?
just some void.
Like,
Yes, 100%.
We're not the only life in the...
What do you mean by parallel
so, like,
universe?
do you not think there's, like, other people out there?
By parallel universe, I think that there is another Ollie and Jake in a different universe living our lives but doing things completely differently.
Oh, so not recording a podcast right now?
Yeah, he might be like he might be a Chelsea fan and I don't know, he might be a chef.
Right.
Because once upon a time, you used to really enjoy cooking, and you still do. And there's probably, I think it's likely that there's a universe out there where there is a Jake who's just taken a different decision at one point, and is now a chef.
On that, because honestly, like, when I think about it, like, every decision you make changes your life.
Yeah.
The smallest decision you make changes your life.
Yeah. And you set your own course, and I think, in a sense, you can dip in and out, because if you made a series of different decisions, which you could, you'd be living a completely different life. Have you ever heard of Schrodinger's cat?
I've heard of it, but I have no idea what it means.
So there was this experiment once where they put a cat in a box. The box was sealed completely shut. You couldn't see into the box. Cat's in like a shoebox.
Wait, no, have we spoken about this?
Have we?
I think we have. Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we have.
We did when we were talking about doing this as a podcast, because this was the night we were talking about The Secret and stuff.
So you don't know whether the cat's dead or alive. So at that moment, you're in between two possible realities. So why can there, for everything that you do in life where there's different outcomes, why could there not be a possible reality for that? Because you could go and do that.
That is...
Do you know what I mean? I think
I do.
You could just say it's one big reality and you just kind of like...
Sometimes,
but then why do you get things like deja vu where you've never done it before?
Sometimes I don't think life's real. Like, I don't... Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's... Like, are we even real?
So my friend said something like that the other day. He was like, what if the life we're living right now is just... So everything in my field of view right now is here.
Yeah, but everything else isn't.
But everything else
like, behind me's gone.
is black. Yeah.
Oh.
And it's only as soon as I like start to turn around
there it comes.
that because it's simulated, I imagine it's there.
Yeah. Oh, it's so mad. But like,
Because it could be, because I can't see it. But then what if someone throws a tennis ball at the back of my head? Where's that come from?
yeah.
I just debunk that whole theory.
But like, yeah, kind of. But like, I don't know. I just don't like little things. Like me and you will never see the same thing. You'll see, like, even down to the color of this mic. Like, we'll probably see that as a slightly different color because our eyes are different. And like, do you know? I got told this the other day, and it really fucked with me. They were like, "Do you know you can see your nose, but your brain just knocks it out?"
Oh my god.
Like, you can actually see your nose, but your brain.
Yeah, because if you look,
yes,
like,
if
I
you
can
look
see
down
it
at
now.
it,
If I focus on
yeah.
it, then if I really focus on it, it feels a bit tingly actually now because
Like,
I know it's
your
there.
brain just tells you're not. You like it would just block your vision, so it doesn't see
Yeah,
it.
it's true. Have you ever tried seeing what eye
Yeah.
dominant you are? I think we've done this in the car, didn't we? That's crazy.
I don't know what that means.
I never
How
knew
do I do
that.
I forgot how you do that.
So basically, pick someone's. Everyone can do this at home. You can.
Join in, guys. Join in.
You can pick.
Unless you're driving.
Well, we've done it, so it's fine. Pick something to line your finger up with, your index finger.
Yeah.
So I've lined it up with the top of that mic. If I shut my left eye, I'm way off. If I shut my right eye, I'm lined up with the top. So
Does that mean I'm left eye dominant?
If when you use your left eye, it's lined up, then yeah.
That is crazy because I was lining up with that can and suddenly my finger was
Yeah, it's way
over
off.
here.
So but that's how smart your brain is. It imagines it and makes like constantly making guesses on where things are, judged on your eyesight.
That's
which
not
is-
right.
Which is actually mental.
That is not alright. But yeah, anyway, going back to flat Earth.
So they prove it by a couple of. They try to prove
That's
it
pretty good.
by a couple of different ways.
But like people go out to space and they literally see this sphere. Like there is a sphere of an Earth. Like if
Yeah.
you go out to space.
And the thing that they say, well, the government are lying to us, the NASA's lying to us, blah blah blah. But the thing that debunks that for me is that in high schools, they can, if you get a balloon powerful enough and a good enough camera, you can
and then just
literally
go bang.
send a balloon up to space from your high school science class, or maybe he's a government informant, who knows? But you can send a
No.
balloon up in your year 7 science class. If it goes up high enough, you'll be able to start seeing the edge of the world.
Which you can when you're in a plane though. When you're in a plane, I do it all the time. You can like literally just see it.
Yeah. If you're high up enough, you definitely can.
I don't think the Earth is flat. I understand why people may think like, well, it's just a straight line, but because also essentially,
I mean,
like,
it makes sense, right? You don't
when
ever feel the sphere.
because realistically, if we was a sphere, well, we are a sphere, but if we was walking, the only thing pulling us is gravity, right? So let's say the sky, we only think the sky is up because of that's where we see it, but if you was to look at like, if we're on your axis, because the world doesn't just turn like that. Yeah, if you're going like this, you're essentially at one point would be upside down. But the only thing that drags us in is gravity. So if it wasn't for gravity, we'd probably all be flying out in space.
Don't you think it'd be mental if we knew? Well, the world spins so fast. You're literally like.
Yeah, and that. Oh my god, maybe that's what gravity is.
Well, I think it is. I think.
Really?
I don't want to say that. But I think because of like the force it creates when it spins around so quickly, you're almost like pulled in.
It's like when you've got something in a like water in a jug and you start spinning that around well quickly.
Yeah,
The
I think it's
doesn't-
exactly
the water
like
doesn't
that.
Come out.
I think it's exactly like that. I think that's the reason. If anyone is, a physicist or knows anything about science and has a good theory, well, the actual science,
That is so.
let us know.
But
But they say things like, well, what, if the world spins at 1,000 miles an hour, why don't the clouds move at 1,000 miles an hour? Why doesn't the moon? Why don't you see it just fucking going round and round and round and round?
Like 24 hours in a day. Who came up with that? Like, why does the sun and the moon just come around at the same time?
I don't know. Do you know how someone actually figured that out?
How?
I read this earlier. they put a stick in the ground, right?
Right.
And it's like a 6 feet tall stick, and he used to do it at different points of different points in the day. He used to do it like every hour, for example, and he'd measure like what degree the shadow was away from the start of the stick. So he was measuring the angle using the shadow of where the sun was at, and he placed loads of different sticks miles and miles apart. And he was the first person, he was like some Greek guy, he was the first person to ever start to realise the Earth's actually rounded, because from the angles he was taking from where the shadows were casted, they were all different on all of the sticks, because if the Earth was completely flat, the angles would all have been similar. But he like done some mad calculation and realised, actually we must be spherical. And he done that with a stick.
That is
How smart do you have to be to realise, like I look at a stick and I think, oh, right for the dog or something like that. Or like I'll pick it up and I'll just kick it on the floor. And that'll be like the extent of what I'd do with that stick. But some guy's planted a stick in the floor and he's gone, yeah, Earth's circle from Greece. He has, he didn't need a telescope or an international space station to like prove that. That's insane how clever some people are.
But leading on from that, like we can go straight into like looking at space and stuff, like the man on the moon, like when they went to visit the moon. Like, that mic was really far away from me. Like, is that true? Like, do you think someone's landed on the moon?
I think so.
You do?
But it's one of those things that is so insane. I can see why people would like think it's not true. I mean, I think the whole argument is that it was. Well, yeah, they said it because the flag's not moving, isn't it?
There's no gravity, and the thing's blowing a gale. It's got 80-mile-an-hour winds on it.
Well, is there wind in space?
But apparently not. There's not even gravity. How can there be wind?
There can't be wind, can there?
Not at all. Little weather forecast for the moon.
Here's your 14-day weather forecast for the Milky Way.
Also, that blows my brains as well, because like space is dark, but the sun's in it. I
think, isn't it like this? What do you mean? Do you mean like actual space? It's just pitch black, isn't it? It's like nothingness.
There's nothing. Yeah. So, but the sun's
because there's nothing there. It's just a void, and because it's just a void, there's nothing to reflect off of. So it's just black.
I've just thought of something else as well. How do we get blue skies?
We really need someone who actually knows something about science to answer these questions. I don't know. Maybe like the gases that are in the air. There's probably someone listening to this that actually knows loads about physics.
They're listening to this going, I want to tell them
these two are retarded.
You know what I mean? Just absolute.
Why is the sky blue? Did you ever go to school? There's probably what someone's thinking, but I honestly can't actually think of a reason why the sky is actually blue.
Colours freak me out as well.
But why do people think the moon landing is fake, other than the flag? Because I swear there's loads of reasons.
Well, I mean,
don't they say that there's no footprints or something like that?
Yeah, they did. They did say
it's
that.
Like
actually.
How?
But it's all supposed to be like dusty, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's like, how can you leave a footprint on the moon? But then it's like, well, you've never fucking been there, mate. So how do you know? I think this is definitely true.
Yeah.
What would people gain? What would we gain from making people think that it was fake?
Money.
True.
Just shoot a rocket up in the air.
There's a lot of other ways to get money, though.
Mate, I've been on mission space in America, yeah. I've essentially flown to the moon.
I'm going to the moon.
We spoke to Richard Branson about that because he's apparently flying. Virgin are creating
right.
our own
Elon Musk coming on the podcast next week. I reckon in less than 100 years' time, people will be able to get there. They're talking about getting... SpaceX is getting people there, and I think it's like a month or something. As in, like, it takes a month to get there. Not as in it's coming out next month.
It took 2 weeks for them to do the rocket, yeah.
Oh.
When NASA launched it, yeah.
Well, that's easy. I'd sit on a plane for...
You do it for 2 weeks?
Yeah. Yeah, 1,000,000%. I could sit on an aircraft for 2 weeks to get a chance to step on the moon. Are you having a laugh?
Want to just dash back again? You can't
Well,
stay over. We can do pitch a tent up.
Maybe. I don't know. Well, it'd take 2 weeks to get back again, but I wouldn't care. My work would be fuming. I haven't got enough annual leave to get there and back.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'd probably quit my job. If someone was like, you can go to the moon next week, and then my work told me, oh, sorry, you haven't got enough annual leave to go to the moon.
There's a lot of health restraints about it, though.
Well, don't you shrink? I can't really afford to lose any height.
I thought that's what happened when you go to the bottom of the ocean, which is another thing. The ocean fucking scares the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Do you know they've said they've only discovered 5% of the ocean?
That is crazy. That also means they've only discovered probably less than 5% of all the animals that are there.
I think there's another world down there, you know. I think there's all like them scary mermaids and shit.
Like from Nemo,
Yeah.
that like shark
And from
with
Peter Pan.
That's actually a real fish.
And Harry
though.
Potter. You know, in Goblet of Fire, when they go down, there's them awful little...
What, the
Trials
mermaid
of
thing?
Tournament, yeah.
I don't know about mermaids.
I
I think they're a bit mythical.
I reckon Nemo's down there somewhere.
But I mean, if we've only discovered 5% of the ocean, who's to say that these things don't exist?
5%. And look what you've discovered.
Looks me out how deep
So deep.
some of the ocean is.
So deep.
And
Like,
it's
how
just
far into
dark.
the core does that go?
It's just blackness. I don't think it'll... Well, it probably will all be discovered one day, because we're discovering more and more all the time. But I think you'd have to have more technology to go and discover like the deepest, darkest parts.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, I don't know. I'd like to think they went to the moon, because otherwise everyone's been cheated out of their lives, and there's been so many missions to go to the moon.
I mean, when they send these rockets up there for people to go to like the International Space Station
My only argument is when
and the moon,
they did it.
where do they go then?
But they did it years ago. Like, I'm talking before we were even born. So how, in the time that technology has changed in that way, how's no one else gone to the moon?
Well, after what was it, Neil Armstrong? No, is that the cyclist? No, that's Lance Armstrong, isn't it? I think, is it Neil Armstrong? That's the man that went to the moon, isn't
I
it?
think we need to do our research before we start putting this.
I can't believe you didn't fucking write it down. Who's the person that went to the moon? I thought you were going to go look at your paper and go, yeah, Neil Armstrong.
This man on the moon.
I think people have been since then, haven't they?
Yeah, there's been like multiple trips to the moon, but it doesn't run like the C2C. It doesn't come every 20 minutes.
One day it will.
The
One day
C2C
it
don't
will.
even run any 20
True.
minutes.
I mean, why do we not? Yeah, that's very true, actually. Why have I not seen more recent pictures of people going to the moon? If he could do it then,
Like, when was the last time you
why
actually
can't we
saw
do it now?
a spaceship go to the moon or rocket? Do you know what I mean?
Don't know. The last one I saw go up into space was like they like go up on a rocket and then they shoot off satellites. I saw some people go to the International Space Station, which is cool. I'd love to go there.
I've been there.
Think of that, right? There are some people right now that are living, like, I don't know how far it is, but in the International Space
I've
Station,
been to the International Space Station.
in the middle of space, there's people living up there right now. Just, have you seen The Martian, the film?
No,
They're just sitting up there doing little science experiments all day.
Oh,
And
man.
just living on a space station
That'd do my head in.
in
It's like
space,
quarantine for
just
life.
flying around the Earth. I mean, like, who can say that they've lived on a space station and just seen Earth and just flown around Earth? I'd love to do that.
My
man.
dad used to get his telescope out in lockdown because they did something like that in lockdown, and he used to, like, honestly, used to sit in the garden and just wait for these things to fly past, which is cool. Don't get me wrong, but I was like, it just doesn't really make a lot of sense in my head. It is all like when you actually deep life.
I'd love to
is-
actually speak to a proper scientist.
But how do you know they know what they're talking about?
Oh God, we just start questioning
They
everything.
just question everything, but it's great. That's what it's supposed to.
It's true though. That's where these conspiracy theories spawn from,
Exactly.
isn't it? People just refusing to believe some things aren't true, and that people manipulate information and potentially lie to people, which does happen. People do manipulate information.
100%.
So there's always going to be conspiracy theories. They're never going to go.
About everything. There's loads. Go on. What's your next one?
Should we move on? So, slightly different from space, but I recently read a book. It's a very famous book called The Da Vinci Code. Have you ever read it?
No.
So essentially, he's like a what's it called? Someone who studies symbols for a living and like ancient symbols and what they mean and ancient religions, that sort of thing. The whole film basically goes through them trying to discover like the Illuminati,
Right.
essentially.
I don't really understand that though, to be honest with you.
Well, lucky for you.
Lucky for you, Ollie's done his research, unlike me.
I have attempted to understand, but it is quite confusing, so you're going to have to bear with me.
It doesn't take me a lot to get confused either.
So, essentially, years and years and years ago, in 1774, I think it was, there was a person called, I think it was like Andrew Weishaupt. He's like a German guy. Weishaupt. I was probably saying that completely wrong. But he was a teacher at college back then, which I was like, hang on a minute, there was colleges in 1773, but it's probably not the college that we think now. But he was a professor in church law. So back then, religion was massive.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't... religion was kind of the worldwide accepted way of how things happened, and people lived their way by what the Bible said and how that was developing at that time. And a lot of the colleges at that time were run by what's called clergy, which are people that are like work with the Pope. So they're really high up in the Catholic Church, and they're kind of like the government that we have now. It used to be the Pope and people that work under the Pope. So those guys run the colleges, and they were like the SEAL Team 6 of Christianity. Wow. They would like go all over the world and spread their religion, spread Christianity, and spread the law of the church. So like you must like never cheat, never do all these like bad things. And it caused a lot of trouble for a lot of people, because at that time slavery and things like that were massive, and the clergy, which the Andrew Weishaupt, the starter of the Illuminati, he wasn't part of the clergy, so from the bat he was always a bit, he didn't really agree with it, but he was still teaching everyone church law. But at that time, slavery was massive, so they caused a massive uproar by saying like all of this isn't right, and keeping them in these conditions isn't right. And essentially, Weishaupt, I don't even know if I'm saying that right, but he was like, no, I don't believe it. I'm going against what the church says. I think people need to have more free choice in what they think. I think people can choose to, because science was kind of evolving at that point. He was like, why don't people take this opinion? And science was seen as opposing the church, and they were like fighting each other all the time. So he went to a group of people called the Freemasons, and they created a group to try and spread enlightenment to people. So enlightenment being that you have knowledge, you're enlightened. So they wanted to spread the knowledge that science existed, and they didn't have to believe what the church said. But he wasn't like completely all science. He was like saying they can work together, but the church was like, no, we're not having it. It's just church. That's all you have to believe in. So they started to reform the way people were thinking, and tried to get science and religion to work together. So he started recruiting from a group called the Freemasons, who were already doing a similar thing, starting to go against the church. And he wanted to create a group that created enlightenment. And the Latin word for enlightenment is illuminatus. So they then formed a group of what they would call, it's like a super secret group called the Illuminati.
Is that why people, when like they have like an epiphany, they go Illuminati confirmed?
I think that's just like an internet meme.
Yeah, but like, is that where it comes from?
I think it's when people like prove something.
Yeah, okay, cool.
But yeah, so they would have secret names. Like he would make his secret name Spartacus, because he like led a load of, like, I think he led like a load of poor soldiers to victory against like a really rich enemy. And he basically recruited loads of people from the government and upper class that didn't really agree with what the church was saying and wanted to be enlightened. And And that's how the Illuminati started. He then eventually became the king of Germany, the king of it was Bavaria at that time. But then the church still had total control pretty much, and they were like put a ban on secret groups and shut the Illuminati down there and then. But so all of the evidence says that it stopped then, but people still think that it exists and that there is like a group of people from the government and celebrities. Like people think like Jay-Z and Beyonce are in the Illuminati, like Barack Obama. People like this think that they're in this secret group of people that are trying to create this new world. They call it New World Order, where the government, they want to create one government for the whole world,
Right.
and basically spread that message of giving people as much knowledge as possible to make their own decisions.
Yeah.
And yeah, so the conspiracy theory is that it's still going because one of their symbols was like the all-seeing eye on a pyramid.
Yeah.
And it's on like dollar bills in
Yeah.
America. So you see symbols like that all of the time in day-to-day life, and people think that it's people from the upper class that are trying to carry through the secret message of the Illuminati and trying to like secretly recruit people. which is crazy because I didn't actually know any of that. But
Really?
if you watch the Da Vinci Code, it's really, really interesting because it goes back through like the whole history of the Illuminati and that sort of thing.
Maybe I should watch that. Because I mean, I get it. I don't know how much of it I believe. But also, like, if you...
As in,
for example,
that's like historical.
yeah, which I would think
fact.
people would try and carry on. I feel like no matter what happened, people would try and carry on. Like, it's almost like a protest, isn't it? No one cares. Like, you just would carry it on. So, I suppose, the belief in it. If you believe in something, you always come together. Not so much religion as such, but like,
It's like
do you know what I mean? When you believe in something,
bias, isn't it? So
Yeah.
like, if you believe in something and then you see something that confirms your belief, then you automatically think
yeah,
that
100%.
oh, my belief's true. That sort of thing. But that did happen. That the Illuminati was a thing, and it did happen. A group of people formed it, but they didn't really have any success and they didn't really get any power, and it got cut off by the church straight away, and that was it. He got like exiled from where he lived and was like on the run, and no one ever saw it. And that was meant to be the end of it, but people still think that through the government and people that are rich, they still have this secret group.
Maybe it got cut off though because there was truth behind it.
Well, yeah, at the time, that's why it got cut off, because the church had so much power.
Yeah, they didn't like it.
They didn't like being opposed, and they didn't like someone thinking differently to what they were thinking.
I don't think I know enough about it to comment on it.
Whereas now, maybe we're all secretly part of the Illuminati because we all think both
Believe
things.
different shit. Yeah.
Both things can be true. Some people think religion's not true. Some people believe in it. Some people don't, and some people think that it works together.
Yeah, there's so many beliefs nowadays as well.
So maybe that just was the start of people starting to think more independently and be more enlightened.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be the fact that you have to be part of some sort of secret group to do it.
Yeah.
But maybe that was the start of people thinking more freely.
Absolutely.
But the conspiracy aspect of it, that Barack Obama and Jay-Z and Beyonce are like forming
That
this
is
secret
mad.
group to create one government to rule the whole world, I think is a little bit...
I think that's got pushing the boat out a little bit, innit? Do you know what I mean?
I don't think Beyonce cares, if I'm honest with you.
I think she's got better fish to fry. I'm not sure about that one.
What's your last one?
My last one is birds are drones. So
This is a good one.
So there's this thing which is what this mic. So again, a lot of getting used to. So apparently, people think that birds are drones held by the government, in which they just like look over you, like that's how you keep an eye on them. And I don't believe that. I don't believe that, but I believe that life isn't what we think it is. If that makes any sense at all. Like, I don't think that like all these living things.
You can't always believe what you see.
Do you know what I mean? And like, as I was saying earlier, like, we all see different shit. We all believe different shit. That I don't think Well, it comes back to my first. Is life even real? Do you know what I mean? Like what is? Do you know what I mean? Like,
What are the birds? You don't even know the birds at this point.
Do you know what I mean? So I don't know how sold I am on it.
So why do they think that? Is there anything? Is there any more to that?
As far as my research went.
So you got the title of the conspiracy theory.
That's why I didn't do any research into them.
But I think that's happened before. Like governments and like military organisations have like manufactured UAVs and like satellites and cameras that look like birds, and they would fly them around to look because they look like birds. Fly them in the sky, but they've got a camera in them, and they're like spying on the enemy or spying on people they want to spy on. And they'd have little birds flying around that have cameras inside them, hook actual birds up with cameras. So I think that's probably where it started from. And then someone was like, well, are any of the birds real?
Yeah.
But then what happens when you run a bird over on the road? Doesn't just like
start smoking.
nuts and bolts don't just go
Technology
everywhere.
starts.
Like it's just roadkill, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I don't think birds are drones. The only reason I put the only reason I put this one in though was because of my whole thing about like how much of life is actually real, like how much of it is believed, how much is it. It just blows my brains. Like I could honestly sit there and just go on for hours, but like I just don't think that what we see is everything to life.
It's the hard thing about it, isn't it? Because a bird could fly over your head. You don't actually know. You don't actually know with 100% certainty if it's just a really advanced like robot, or if it's a bird.
Yeah,
and that is like it's 99% likely that it's a bird, like a real bird. But unless you like shoot out the sky and look inside of it.
You'll never know.
You ain't gonna know.
I guess we'll never know.
And I guess we'll never know. And that's why people believe in that stuff.
Yeah.
Because you can never ever. You're always making an assumption about something.
Yeah. Yeah, you are 100%.
There's always an element of uncertainty about anything that you can't instantly prove in that moment.
Yeah.
So people are always gonna think things like that. No matter how outrageous they may seem, it could be true. I mean, to say that all birds are like robots is a bit ridiculous because we know birds exist.
But there could definitely be a couple out there that are.
But I reckon
someone's
maybe
some remote control,
like military, or like the government. We know they have done before.
It'd probably be quite clever for the war and stuff, actually. Like if you was in
Ukrainian bird.
No, I'm not saying that, but as in like if you were back in like World War II and you had that technology, just fly a little drone over, see what they're doing, send a bomb in if all is clear.
Well, yeah, I mean people have done that before.
Oh,
I don't know about in World War II, but like in modern day, it does happen. People have like like drones we fly around.
Yeah.
They have drones that look like birds and fly them around. Like it does happen.
So crazy.
But
if I was in the army, I'd just tell everyone to snipe every bird down just in case.
You'd be so paranoid.
You would. Every time something fly over, bang. Get rid of it. I don't want to die.
Not taking the risk.
I'm gonna lose my job. But yeah, I don't know. I think we've had some.
Let us know what you think. Do you have any know of any conspiracy theories that are either you think there's an element of truth in them, or are just completely outrageous and just weird,
ridiculous?
Let us know, and we'll.
But I think we've definitely had some good ones there, and also some ones that were a bit like.
Yeah, I mean, I don't
even
know
where to go with it.
I didn't know about the bird one. I knew obviously about the moon landings.
Yeah,
that's obviously a really common one. The Illuminati, flat Earth. Everyone kind of knows about it.
Yeah.
And what was the first one?
My life after death one.
And life after death, which is just a horrible topic.
Fucked, mate. So fucked. So
let's get into our question.
To wrap it up, I hope you guys enjoyed that because I thoroughly enjoyed that. I think I could sit there and talk about that. Like when you just sit there and like at night time when you've had a couple of beers with your mates, you just sit there and watch the sky and just talk about life. I love them. My favourite sort of conversations. But to end it, we've got a question. Would you rather be Is this? See, you're the one that came up with this. So does this mean you could turn it on and off at any point, or it is just constant?
Let's say you can turn it on and off at any
Okay.
point.
Would you rather have the power to go invisible, or would you rather have the power to read minds? Do you know what yours is?
Yeah.
What's yours?
Invisible.
Invisible, 100%.
100%.
There's no way I want to be able to read someone's mind.
I don't know. I feel like
It would freak me out. I'd be so paranoid constantly. Like, all you'd be doing, like, is sat there being like...
I don't think I care either. Like, I don't think I want to always know. Do you know what I mean? What extra is that going to give me on top of... Like, because I feel like sometimes you can already... Like, people give away stuff, don't they? In, like, what they say or how they act. I feel like a lot of the time, you can kind of, from the general vibe of a person, get...
Colour vibe.
where they're coming from.
Yeah.
Like you can tell if they're like a bit of an arsehole, and like you know that already. So do I need to then read their mind? And they're probably saying something really mean. Like, I don't even want to know that if they are. Do you know what I mean? I don't think it's going to give me that much more than what, as humans, we already make decisions on and gather information off.
Yeah.
But it would mean you wouldn't doubt anything. You'd know, it's just being nosy though, isn't it?
It would just honestly rip me apart. Like, imagine like, no, but it would, because it would actually destroy me.
What if
like,
you go for an audition
and you think you smashed it,
or
and you go, it was
turn
shit.
it on. They're like, this guy's never getting a job in his life. Or what if you're doing like an audition, you turn it on, and they're like, oh, if you just done one more pirouette or something, he'd get loads more marks.
Mark, it's not a fucking exam.
Then, I don't know how it works, but then you just smashed another one out, and then they were like, well, he's got the job.
No, I wouldn't be able to. I get in
Put
my
you
own,
off though, wouldn't it?
I get in my own head enough, mate. Let alone someone else coming into my head as well. That's not for me. But like, even down to little things, like, imagine like you're sitting there with your mate talking, and you switch it on, and they're going, "Oh, fucking this kid bores the shit out of me," or something like that. Like, it would, like, I'd be like, "Oh my god, that's my best mate," and he doesn't even like me.
Oh god, yeah.
Or like, if you're in a relationship and you're telling someone you love them, and they go, "Oh, fucking hate this kid." Like that, honest to like that.
Yeah.
That's just not for me. I couldn't do it. It's definitely no. I'd have to be invisible because I probably would never really switch it on.
But then,
unless I was hiding from someone.
But then, why do I want to be invisible? I
But
mean,
there's no
imagine if you
reason.
couldn't switch it off and you were just invisible.
Then
How
obviously I'd
shit
wanna-
that would be.
Maybe we should. I don't actually know what one I'd pick if you could never switch either of them off.
If you could never switch it off, then I'd do the
You'd
reading
have
minds.
to be. You'd have to do read minds.
Why the
'cause
hell
otherwise you
would I
wouldn't
want to be invisible?
You wouldn't be.
I would literally just be on my own constantly. I'd have no impact in.
Yeah, it's true.
You would just literally constantly spend your life just fucking with people, wouldn't you? Because there's no other way you'd
No,
get
yeah, you would.
recognition for you being alive other than.
But do people know you're alive if you're invisible?
No, if you're invisible, no one knows you ever existed.
But like,
She gave birth. And just
there's
nothing came out. But then there was just crying in the room, and they were like,
then you'd be
"What
dead.
the hell is going on?"
Then you'd be dead because they wouldn't have been able to feed you.
Or
'cause
maybe
they know
that's
who you
why
are.
it starts. It's an unfortunate birth, and that everyone then from the off doesn't think you exist. But actually, you're invisible. You've just crept out, and now you're just living your life. But then I suppose you'd die, wouldn't you? Because no one would look after you.
Yeah, exactly. I think maybe you'd like become invisible at like 14.
So just one day at 14,
One day,
just
just
gone. People think you just run away or something like that. But
Yeah.
actually, you're
You can
still
just-
there.
Imagine how much power you'd hold though.
I'd love to like go to like a Premiership football match,
And
be
just nick
invisible,
the ball and
just like when someone plays like a through ball, but they've just overhit it slightly, and the attacker just can't get it. In that, when the keeper's coming for it, I'd love to just take it round him, just
some
bosh,
mad
straight into the top corner, and literally be like going over to the away fans,
Unreal.
like knee sliding. It would just be brilliant.
That'd be funny. Yeah.
There'd be so many good things you could do.
So
Being
really,
invisible.
I think. Well, I'd hate to read minds. So if we are sticking with switching it on and off, I'd go invisible, and I don't think I'd use it a lot. But then again, I could say
Why
the
would you,
same.
when would you use it? Why do you
going
want to be?
invisible.
Why do you want to be invisible?
I mean, you would as a kid, wouldn't you? If your mum's about to tell you off, just doo-doo.
It would just. I'm fucking sick of this shit. Just invisible off. Although they know that you're still there, but you're just invisible, so they're still going to be giving you an earful. But then you could just.
I'll just creep out the window.
Yeah, you can just fuck. I mean, you're invisible. You could just walk out the door. You're gonna go invisible, and they're gonna be like, "Where is he?" And they're just gonna see the top of the window opening. You're just gonna be like, trying to get out of it, and they're just sitting there watching you, like, "What the hell are you doing?"
God, no,
But they can still like grab you if you're invisible.
just slide tackle them as you walk out and do a runner.
But yeah, I mean, you could just run off, and they would never know where. But then they'd hear you walk. They can hear you walking still. So they'll track you down. You can't even hide when you're invisible from your parents.
No, you never can. Parents and everything. I'd still go invisible, I think.
I'd only use it just to fuck with people, to be honest.
Yeah, just like with my mates. Not like fuck people badly, but just like if my mates were doing my sweet, I'd be like, where?
Yeah,
just even a little tap on the shoulder, they'd be like, nothing's there, you know?
Yeah, stuff like that.
or
I mean, they couldn't already be there with me, and then I'd just switch it on invisible. Otherwise, they're probably just throwing hands, like, and I'd get closer and I'd just catch one.
Yeah.
It'd have to be, I'm not
They don't
with
know
them,
you're going,
and
yeah,
then
yeah.
I find them, turn it on invisible, and then just, like,
Have a laugh
fuck
with
with
it.
them the whole day.
That'd be so funny.
Pants and Bosch in the middle of the high street.
Gone. One,
Done.
2, 3.
I'm like, oh, fuck, Ollie, why are you doing this? Why are you following me around all
That'd be
day?
so joke.
You total weirdo.
Yeah, I'd go invisible because reading minds would really, really freak me out. I just wouldn't be able to do it.
It's too much.
It's too much. I think that's such a lot on you, to be honest with you. I think that's crazy. A crazy amount.
Yeah.
Cool.
Let us know
So-
what you think.
Yeah, well, that was episode 9. I really enjoyed that one. That was had some good moments, had some weird moments, had some fun,
Yeah.
some really mad moments. But yeah, I enjoyed that. And obviously we got the new mic, so please let us know if you enjoyed the new mics.
Yeah. Fucking hope this has worked. all
Yeah, if
fine.
it hasn't, well, there's only
Back
one
to
more
the
episode.
one mic.
We're back to one mic. But cool. Thank you guys for tuning in. That was episode 9 of Conspiracy Theories with a few other things chucked in. We've only got one episode left of the series, so that is actually a bit mad, really. And then we get cracking into series 2. We're going to brainstorm that for a bit, and we'll keep you informed on socials about the break we're taking and how long that's going to be, or when we're coming back, etc., because we haven't even discussed it ourselves.
Yeah.
So, I hope you all have a great bank holiday. Well, it would have happened by then, but yeah.
Hope you did have a
I
great
hope you did have a
holiday.
great bank holiday weekend last weekend. Remember, gamble responsibly if you are sticking it on.
But do stick it on.
But do stick it on because you'll regret it if you
Tips.
don't. Jake's Tips 101. And cool. So, cheers to that. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great weekend. See you later, guys. Thank
See
you.
you later.